ALA families, this is Justin Smith, Managing Director, and I wanted to take a few minutes today to talk to you about our one-to-one iPad program and give you a little bit of training and orientation in regards to how our program will work at Ascend Leadership Academy and what steps are necessary in order for your child to receive an iPad to transport to and from school. You'll learn why we chose iPads. You'll learn what the student responsibilities are. You'll learn what the parent responsibilities are, and then some do's and don'ts will be included. And then at the end, we'll talk about some of the policies that include the fees and fines associated with different scenarios when it comes to the iPads. So let's get started. So the first question is, why is this important? Number one, we're going to use the iPads as an instructional tool. We don't buy textbooks at Ascend Leadership Academy, but what we have purchased is online programs like iExcel, Nearpod, NC STEM Scopes. These are all digital programs that the teachers have been trained to use in their classroom. So instead of some traditional workbooks or textbooks or things like that, our teachers have been giving access to these digital programs, which are all accessible either through apps or through the internet on the iPads. So students will use them to learn essentially, and that's what we're here, and that's what it's all about. So the number one reason for the iPads is that they're used as an instructional tool. The second reason is for the implementation of 21st century skills. Our tagline at Ascend Leadership Academy is we empower students for the 21st century. And by one way that we do that is by making them digitally literate. And what they'll use the iPads for is by doing digital research online, using all the sources and resources of the internet to enhance their learning experience and to give them that student choice and voice that's required in project-based learning. They'll also be using things like Google Docs and Google Classroom. With Google Docs and Google Classroom, they can create assignments or complete assignments, but also submit them online, and all digitally. No paper and pencil. With the iPads, we're able to take that out of the equation and go to more of a 21st century model where students are submitting assignments digitally rather than with hard copies. Number three, it does teach responsibility. All right, students will be expected to be responsible for the device that they're issued, expected to take care of it, bring it back and forth to school, and it's essentially their responsibility. Their teacher or not even you as a parent are not expected to keep up with it and take care of it. It's their responsibility, and we're teaching them responsibility through this program. And last, the preparation for high school and beyond. With teaching responsibility, it gives them that sense of responsibility that they'll need when they go to high school, when they go to college, if they choose to do that. So we're starting that process right here in middle school. And many high schools are going to online platforms like Canvas and Blackboard, and in even high school, and even definitely when they go to college, you'll see a lot of technological devices in the classroom, where students are researching, where students are taking notes, where students are doing different things with their technology in the classroom, and the professors and teachers are as well. So last reason, we're preparing them for high school, preparing them for beyond high school, where the use of technological devices in the classroom will be second nature for them. So the next question is, why Apple iPads? And in our research, we wanted something that was versatile and easy to transport and keep safe by our students. And with the protective case, we felt like the iPad was a good option for that. It's easy to transport. You could put it in and out their backpacks with the case, and it would still be safe and still be able to use. We also wanted something that you could have access to the instructional programs I mentioned previously, and the iPad has apps for all those programs, and we were able to utilize those programs on the iPad as well. So that was another reason. And we also wanted something that we could control a mass amount of devices through a specific program, in the Apple iCloud program app allows us to do that. It allows us to control all the iPads once we set them up on a massive iCloud account. So those were some of the reasons why. And then also we wanted something with a camera. for the digital media aspect, for a lot of the videos and picture taking and other things that we'll be doing in the digital media class. So that was some of the reason. We also wanted a device that had certain digital media applications, including GarageBand, iVideo, which are both free to Apple users. So we didn't have to spend any extra money on software or applications because those applications come with the iPads directly. So that was a big reason why we chose iPad as well. Students will be doing a lot of work in iVideo for sure initially in GarageBand, and then down the road maybe advancing into some of the more intricate programs that Apple has to offer as well. But they'll start there and then move on with the other digital media applications that Apple offers specifically for its devices. Also, just that idea of apps instead of programs, we wanted something that was you could easily download apps, which apps are you can just go to the Apple Store, download the apps that you need, and upload them to the device. Usually, it's a lot easier than having to find software programs and things like that to download and install, and that process can be kind of tedious for on a desktop computer, and especially when you have 160 of them going. We need something easy where we can install apps rather than programs. And last, the quick startup. I mean, you get your iPad out, you push a button, type the code in, and then it starts right up. Sometimes with desktop computers and other things, you have to, it takes a while for it to start up. You have to go through the process and has to boot and everything. We wanted something that students could start up easily so we can be more efficient, use the class time more effectively rather than waiting for students to load devices. And then I would say the last thing in conjunction with that would be the battery life. These iPads can last all day. If they're fully charged at the beginning of the day, they can go throughout the entire day without needing to be recharged. So battery life was an important factor as well. So how does your child get one of these Apple iPads that I've been discussing? There's 3 steps that I want to go over briefly with you. The first step being that the parent pays a $40 one-time non-refundable deposit to the school via their Charter Pay account. And this fee, the $40, covers the protective case that we'll provide for the device and the other warranty costs and insurance costs for normal wear and tear of the device. Inevitably, there will be some of them that will need some updates or will need some care due to normal wear and tear. And this fee kind of pays insurance towards that. So that's where the $40 fee goes to. It is non-refundable, and it's a one-time fee for the entire school year. And with that, students are able to take the iPad back and forth to school. Number 2 is read it and electronically sign the parent-student iPad agreement form, which is linked on the website, and which you should have received a letter that has some of this information on it, where all the information of how to get to it. But if you go to the website, all the information will be there to where you can follow the guidelines and make sure that you read the agreement form, the agreement form will lead you to some other websites or some other documents, is what I should say, that are specific to the program, and just kind of guarantees that you have read and understand the policies associated with our one-to-one iPad program. And then finally is to view this video that you're watching right now, this video orientation about our program, as I go through some of the important handbook policies. It's just kind of a way to ensure that you understand what our policies are, what our expectations are for students and parents. So once you do those 3 things, you're able to be issued a iPad for your child. Now, if you choose to not pay that $40, your child will not have the opportunity to take the iPad back and forth from school to their home. And then the expectation will be that they have a device at home where they can complete their homework assignments. Most of them will be online assignments. So the expectation is that there is something in place to ensure that students can get that done while they're at home. So let's talk about the responsibilities of the student. And parents, my suggestion to you is to after this video, you go over these responsibilities again with your child to make sure that they fully understand, because this is a huge responsibility. We want to make sure that they understand that for sure. Number one responsibility is to bring the iPad fully charged to class every day. Failure to do so may result in disciplinary action. The only way our program works is if the children come to school every day with their iPad fully charged, ready to be used. What we can't have is a situation where students come and the iPad's not charged and they can't use it. It's defeating the purpose of having a one-to-one policy. We need the iPad ready to be used on a daily basis, because the expectation that teachers will have is that every student has a device and they'll be making their lesson plans based on that expectation. Number two, never leave the iPad unattended or unsecured. Leaving an unattended iPad may result in a fine. This goes back to the student responsibility of just taking care of the device, making sure that they have it, making sure that they're keeping up with it, making sure that they're not just leaving it in places where it's unattended. Each iPad will have a serial number associated with it and a sticker on it that is issued by the school that helps us identify whose iPad is which and whose iPads is whose, basically. And once we find them unattended, once we find them on the playground or find them in the bathroom or find them in places where they're unattended where someone could get them, I will be having a conversation, or their teacher will be having a conversation with that student about keeping up with the iPad, and we may have to take disciplinary action or issue a fine if this is a constant behavior or consistent behavior. Next, students must grant access to school officials at all times. That's just part of our acceptable use policy. It is a public device. So if there is reasonable suspicion that something's going on with the iPad, the expectation is that there is no privacy with the iPad because it's being issued by the school, and that a school official can look at the device at any time. And last is to sign and agree to the Internet Acceptable Use Policy and the Laptop Agreement Form, both of which kind of outlines these same responsibilities and kind of goes through the expectations in great detail. So it's important that students read what the expectations are, read what their responsibilities are in these two documents, and make sure that they understand them before participating in our one-to-one iPad program. All right, along those same lines of student responsibility, what are some do's and some don'ts for students, just to be very clear? Let's start with the do's. Number one, do transport in the durable case that we issue to you. So your iPad will come with a durable case that we issue. It's a part of that $40 fee. And these are designed to take the punishment of 6th and 7th grade students transporting the device. So at all times, your iPad should stay in this durable case. Number two, lock it up in a secure place when you're not using. This could be your locker, this could be your backpack, but if you don't have it for whatever reason, it needs to be secured. It could be in the classroom, and if you're going to leave it in the classroom, let's say for recess or for or something else, going outside or going somewhere, make sure that your teacher locks it up in a safe place for you so that you can ensure that it is not tampered with or stolen. When cleaning, use a dry cloth to clean the iPad. Let's not put any liquids or liquid cleaners near the device. All right, let's only use dry cloths and other approved cleaning devices or cleaning materials in order to clean the iPad. And then last, immediately report any damage to administration. Any technical difficulties, you need to report that immediately as well to either your teacher or to myself. Or if it is stolen or lost, immediately your best bet is to discuss that with ALA administration or your digital media teacher. The quicker you do this, the quicker we can help you out and make sure that we either get you a replacement or go through the process to report a theft. Things you should not do is eat or drink near the iPad. They are electronic devices. Getting drink or food lodged into them will affect their effectiveness. So do not eat or drink near them. Do not stack heavy items on top of them. Even though they are on the durable case, and even though they're pretty tough, can take a lot of abuse. We still don't want you to put them in your backpack with a lot of books or other heavy items that you put on top of them. So if you're going to put them in your backpack, make sure that you're not stacking things on top of them. Make sure they either has a slot that you can slide it into that has a padded protection, or just be mindful that a lot of weight on top of them will damage the iPad. Do not alter the appearance of the iPad. We're giving you a case, and that's what we expect for you to use. You should not be putting stickers, or you should not be drawing or coloring on the iPad, because that iPad will be used in the future, possibly by another student. So do not deface or change or alter the appearance of the iPad. No stickers, no name tags or different kind of skins that go on it or anything like that. The case that we give you should be the case that you use. So do not alter the appearance of it at all. It is a school issued device, and it should remain that for the entire school year. Do not attempt to repair the iPad. We have people and a company who will do that for us. And then your attempt to repair the iPad may or probably will void the warranty that we have on them. So do not attempt to repair it. Your job, if there's something going on, is to report it to your teacher or to administration, and let an adult take care of that. And then last, do not use unauthorized cleaner to clean the iPad. We talked about that briefly before. It can damage the device. So please do not do that. So as a parent of a student at Ascend Leadership Academy, there's certain responsibilities that you have as well. So I wanted to go through those briefly and talk to parents specifically about what their responsibilities are. Number one is to review and sign and agree to the parent-student iPad agreement, which kind of goes through some of the parent responsibilities as well, and some of the expectations that the school has of them. And then also to read the Internet Acceptable Use Policy and sign and agree that you have read and understand that policy as well. All these documents can be accessed online, or you can send me an email and I will send them to you directly, the links to you directly. The number one thing that we ask for parents to do is to monitor the iPad usage at home. We have an internet filter in place at school that kind of limits the students to what websites the students can go to, and definitely filters out the inappropriate ones for sure, to ensure that they are using the internet appropriately. At home, we don't have that same ability, and we ask that parents either put something in place at home or supervise their students' use of the iPad while they're at home. The purpose of the iPad is for academics, and so any personal use of the iPad, we strongly discourage. Students should be doing homework and project work, and that is the main reason why we're giving it to them to take back and forth from school. Next is to pay the $40 non-refundable fee that covers the case and repairs and general maintenance. We ask you to do that to help the school out, and then pay any fines due to negligent care of the laptop, which we'll talk about in the next slide. So speaking of those fees and fines, let's talk briefly about some of the major fees and fines that you may incur. Hopefully, your child will be responsible, and you'll help with that process. And students, you'll be responsible with the device, and you don't have to worry about this. Our goal is not to make money off this program, but we do have to have some things in place to ensure that students are not negligent with their device. All these fines and more information about them can be found in our one-to-one iPad policy handbook, which is accessible online. It's called the one-to-one iPad policy handbook, and it goes through the different fines and what qualifies as negligent behavior. But I wanted to go through some briefly with you, starting with the one-time non-refundable technology fee, which is $40. Every student who intends to take the iPad back and forth from school to home will need to pay that. It covers the case, it covers normal wear and tear and maintenance of the devices. Then next, in the first incident of damage not covered under the warranty, which usually is going to be damage to the screen or dropping it and cracking it or some kind of crack in it, there will be $50 when that happens. Now, with the cases that the students have, it's going to take some work to damage these iPads. But if it does happen, let's say the student takes it out the case, or they slam it, or they run over it, or do something, or stack their books on top of it, like we talked about in the previous slide, it is possible to damage the iPad. If this happens, the first incident, there's a $50 fine for that. And that goes towards fixing the damage, replacing the screen, or replacing certain parts that were damaged due to the student's negligence. If it happens for a second time, it's $100. If it happens the third time, the student is expected to pay the total cost of iPad replacement, which is around $200. Yeah, so even if the iPad can be saved, it's just more of a deterrent. If it's a third incident, something happens to the screen or monitor or something like that, then they're expected to pay the full price for fixing that iPad. If the student loses the iPad, total replacement is about $200. The expectation is that that's how much will be paid to the school if the student loses the iPad. If there's intentional damage to the label, if the serial number there's an attempt to take it off. This has happened before, where a student finds another student's, they try to take the tag off and change and put theirs on or something like that. That is a $10 fine. And then if the iPad is left unattended and turned into school administration, maybe not in the first instance, there may not be a fine, there may be a warning associated, but if it's a consistent behavior that continually happens, then we may start issuing fines for finding a student's iPad in places where where it was left, in the classroom or in the bathroom or outside or on the bus. If these type of things happen consistently, and if someone turns it into the office, there is a $10 fine for that student to get the iPad back. Now, again, our goal is to make sure that students do not end up in the situation where they have to pay fees and fines. But if that is something that does happen, we do have to hold students responsible for that, and usually that involves a monetary value associated with the damage or with the negligent behavior. And last, important resources, a laptop agreement form or the iPad agreement form is accessible via the website, as well as the iPad one-to-one student-parent policy handbook is available there as well, which goes through in more detail all the fees and fines and all the other policies that ALA has in place. And then you can also link to the Charter Pay account to pay the $40 one-time fee. If you have any questions about our one-to-one iPad program, you can email me directly at jsmith@alaschoolsnc.org. And we can talk about it. And if you have any questions, if you have any financial hardship, you will need to apply for that to kind of come up with a program or a way to make that one-time $40 fee, which we will talk about directly. And my suggestion is that you go online, use all of these important resources, review them not only for yourself but with your child to make sure that they understand the purpose of our program, and also to understand what their expectations are. Again, thank you for your support of Ascend Leadership Academy as we seek to empower students for the 21st century through our one-to-one iPad program.